The flesh-disintegrating beam from the Trill dreadnought Invictus sliced the unarmed civilian transport in half, killing over 2,000 innocents. It wouldn't be the last. Captain Derek Bennett watched the grisly destruction unfold on the holodisplay, his teeth grinding together, knuckles popping as his fists clenched in rage. Around the circular conference table, the various alien council members shifted nervously, some clicking their mandibles or twiddling tentacles in discomfort. The translucent-skinned council leader, Xyloth, cleared his throat. The rogue warship's indiscriminate slaughter cannot continue. It nears a star system of 10 billion. Our forces have failed thrice to stop it. You humans are our final hope, however distasteful we find your brutish ways. Will you aid us? Xyloth asked. Why us? Surely your combined galactic might trumps one lone species, Derek said. The Dreadnought's technology outclasses ours. Its commander, Admiral Keed, wields it with unpredictable cunning. But you humans have a penchant for achieving the impossible. You'll infiltrate the ship, disable it, and capture Keed. That is, if you're up to the task, Xyloth said. Oh, we're up for it. But we'll need intel, your best gear, and a favor owed, a big one. This ain't a charity job, Derek said. Xyloth glanced around at the other council members, who subtly nodded assent. Agreed, Xyloth said. Whatever you need, just stop that dreadnought. Derek grinned wolfishly. Another chance to show the galaxy what humankind could do. He cracked his knuckles again. Time for that damnable Trill warship to learn that you can only push humanity so far before they did that giant gun thing again, shoving a planet-cracking uranium rod up your tailpipe at relativistic speeds. The Invictus was about to learn that the hard way. As soon as Derek left the meeting with the Galactic Council, he started tapping on his wrist communicator to assemble his team. They were a motley crew of human specialists, each the best at what they did. Jax was a hacker who could crack any alien encryption like an egg. The lanky man with spiky green hair claimed he'd once hacked a Zorgath battlecruiser's systems and made all the toilets flush in reverse. Riggs was a demolitions expert who loved big explosions the way most men loved a great pair of tits. The squat, muscular man sported a mohawk and a tattoo that read, I3TNT. Kara was hands down the best pilot Derek knew, with nerves of steel and lightning-fast reflexes. She'd once threaded a scout ship through an asteroid field at top speed on a dare. The team gathered their gear, loading up on the most advanced weapons and tech the Council races could provide. Plasma rifles, nanocarbon armor, cloaking generator for their ship, and EMP grenades specifically designed to wreak havoc on Trill systems. As they approached the massive Trill dreadnought Invictus, Kara engaged the cloaking field, making their ship blend seamlessly into the starry backdrop of space. Jax hunched over his console, his fingers dancing across the haptic interface as he wormed his way into the warship's comms, ready to sow disinformation in the ranks. Suddenly a barrage of searing laser fire strafed across their bow, narrowly missing them. The Trill had spotted them somehow. Kara wrenched the ship into a stomach-churning dive as Derek and Riggs sprinted to the gun turrets. They returned fire, ultra-dense slugs sparking off the dreadnought's energy shields in blazing orange spiderwebs. But the Invictus weapons were too powerful, ripping through their own shields to tear burning gashes in the hull. Klaxons blared as atmosphere vented from the breaches. "We're losing power. I have to set her down," Kara yelled. Derek and Riggs braced themselves as the ship lurched and shuddered, Kara aiming them straight for the docking bay of the Invictus. The ship hit the hangar deck hard, skidding in a shower of sparks before crashing into a rack of enemy fighters. The impact hurled Derek from his seat. He shook his head, ears ringing, and staggered to his feet. Trill soldiers were already pouring into the hangar, plasma lances spitting deadly blue bolts at the wrecked ship. Derek's team stumbled from the smoking wreckage, diving for cover and returning fire. "Riggs, now would be a great time for a big distraction," Derek shouted over the din of weapons fire. The demo expert grinned maniacally and primed one of the EMP grenades. He lobbed the pulsing sphere into the midst of the Trill. The grenade detonated in a spherical shockwave of blue-white energy. The Trill's weapons sparked and died as the blast fried their electronics. Not wasting the opening, Derek and the others surged forward, taking down the disoriented soldiers with plasma bolts and old-fashioned bullets. They pushed ahead, fighting their way through the labyrinthine corridors of the dreadnought. The ship's internal defenses hammered at them, auto turrets popping out of the bulkheads and energy barriers snapping into place, but Riggs's EMP grenades and Jax's hacking skills got them past each obstacle. As they moved deeper into the warship, Riggs planted demo charges at key structural points: the engine room, the main power conduits, the mass driver ammo storage. If they couldn't capture Admiral Keed, they'd blow the Invictus to Kingdom Come. Finally, they reached the doors to the bridge. The thick alloy was dented and pitted from the EMP blasts. Riggs slapped a breaching charge onto it and stood back. The shaped explosion blew the door inward. Derek and the team charged through the smoke, weapons leveled. They skidded to a halt as they took in the scene before them. Admiral Keed stood in the center of the bridge, his elite guard arrayed around him, long curved plasma swords in their hands. The Admiral glared at them with his 4 eyes, baring his needle-like teeth in a feral grin. "Welcome, humans. You fought well to make it this far, but your misguided crusade ends here. Prepare to join your many victims in death." Admiral Keed loomed before them, his chitinous exoskeleton pockmarked with old battle scars. His compound eyes glittered with malevolent intelligence as he took in the battered human strike team. "So the Council sends primitives to do their dirty work. How pathetic," Keed sneered, his mandibles clacking together in a grating alien laugh. Derek stepped forward, his plasma rifle aimed squarely at the Admiral's head. "Surrender, Keed, it's over." The insectoid warlord threw back his head in a rasping, clicking guffaw. "Over? Oh, it's only just begun." His clawed appendage stabbed down on a button on his command console. A massive holographic display burst to life above them, showing the schematic of a pulsating, nightmarish weapon grafted to the Invictus's hull. "Behold the quantum disruptor. With this weapon I will bring the galaxy to its knees," Keed gloated. Jax blanched, his fingers frozen over his hacking interface. "That's the weapon that destroyed the Council's last 3 ships. It can tear through any known shield or armor like tissue paper." Keid's mandibles stretched in a grotesque approximation of a grin. "And now it will be your doom." He reached to activate the weapon, but Riggs was faster. The demo expert squeezed his trigger, sending a plasma bolt sizzling into the control panel. It exploded in a shower of sparks and molten metal. Keid let out an insectoid screech of rage. "Kill them," he ordered his elite guard. The Trill warriors surged forward, their plasma blades humming. Derek and his team met them head-on, human grit and ingenuity against alien ferocity. Kara's fingers danced across her hacking device, interfacing with the Invictus's systems. Suddenly the gravity cut out in the enemy's half of the bridge. Trill guards flailed helplessly as they floated off the deck, easy pickings for the humans' weapons. Jax worked frantically at his own console, sweat beading his brow. With a final triumphant keystroke, he crowed, "Got it! The quantum disruptor is offline." In the chaos, Derek found himself face to face with Keid. The Trill leader towered over him, all razor-edged carapace and brutal strength. They clashed in a vicious melee, Keid's claw blades against Derek's nanocarbon combat knife. Despite Keid's superior size and strength, Derek held his own. The human ducked and wove, using his agility to stay inside the Trill's guard. He parried a scything claw strike and lashed out with a booted foot, catching Keid in the midsection. The alien staggered back, chittering in pain. Derek pressed his advantage, grabbing hold of Keid's arm and twisting it up behind his back. He locked his other arm around the Trill's neck in a chokehold. "Yield!" Derek growled through gritted teeth. Keid struggled for a moment more, then went slack in Derek's grip. The human cautiously released him, keeping his rifle trained on the defeated warlord. Fazkera bound the Admiral's claws behind his back. Derek allowed himself a grim smile. They'd done it. The Invictus was theirs, the quantum disruptor neutralized. The mission was a success. But as they hauled Keid toward the shuttle bay, the insectoid began to laugh, a dry, rasping rattle. "You think you've won, human? This is only the beginning. The Trill Empire will rise, and your pitiful species will be the first to fall. As Derek and his team escorted Admiral Keed through the shattered remnants of the Invictus's command bridge toward the shuttle bay, the ship shuddered violently beneath their feet. A deep, resonant boom echoed through the bulkheads, followed by the shrill wail of alarms. Red emergency lights strobed, painting the corridors in a hellish glow. "For the demo charges, they're going off early," Riggs shouted over the cacophony. The muscular demolitions expert braced himself against a bulkhead as another explosion rocked the vessel. Kara's eyes widened in realization. The crash landing and firefight must have triggered a chain reaction. Derek grabbed Keed by the collar, yanking the insectoid warlord close. "How long until this ship blows?" Keed chittered, his mandibles twitching in what might have been a smirk. "Minutes, human, you've doomed us all." Derek shoved him away in disgust. "Kara, get us to the hangar bay now!" The pilot nodded, her face set in determination as she led the way, deftly navigating the shuddering corridors. They burst into the cavernous hangar, only to skid to a halt in dismay. Their ship, the once sleek vessel that had borne them through the void, lay in ruin, crushed beneath a collapsed bulkhead. "Fuck!" Derek spat, his mind racing. Then his gaze fell on a row of Trill escape pods lining the far wall. "There, everyone in now." They sprinted for the pods, dragging a resisting Keed with them. Jax and Riggs piled into one, while Derek and Kara hauled the Admiral into another. They sealed the hatches just as a final, massive explosion tore through the Invictus. The pods blasted free of the disintegrating dreadnought, hurtling into the void as the once mighty vessel broke apart behind them. Gouts of flame and debris spewed into space, the Invictus's death throes illuminating the darkness. In the cramped confines of the escape pod, Derek sagged against the bulkhead, his adrenaline-fueled strength ebbing. Kara slumped into the pilot's seat, her hands shaking slightly as she inputted coordinates for the nearest council outpost. Derek activated the pod's comm system, hailing the Galactic Council. After a moment, the translucent visage of Xyloth, the council leader, appeared on the small view screen. His compound eyes widened as he took in Derek's battered appearance and the Trill escape pod. "Captain Bennett, what has happened? We lost contact with you after you boarded the Invictus." Derek straightened, ignoring the ache in his bruised ribs. "Mission accomplished, Counselor. The Invictus has been destroyed, and Admiral Keed is in our custody." Xyloth's membranous wings fluttered in relief. "That is excellent news, Captain. The galaxy owes you and your team a great debt." Derek nodded, exhaustion settling over him like a leaden cloak. "Just remember our deal. Humanity expects you to keep your end of the bargain." Of course," Xyloth assured him, his tone placating. "You have the Council's utmost gratitude and respect. We will convene to discuss the terms of our agreement as soon as you return." The transmission winked out, leaving Derek staring at his own haggard reflection in the darkened screen. Keed's words echoed in his mind, a mocking refrain that sent a chill down his spine despite the cramped pod's stuffy heat. He turned to gaze out the small viewport, watching the remains of the Invictus tumble and burn against the starry backdrop. It should have been a moment of triumph, but Derek couldn't shake the feeling that this victory, hard-fought and costly as it was just the opening salvo in a much larger conflict. The escape pod hurtled through the void, bearing its battered human passengers and their alien prisoner toward an uncertain future. Weeks later, Derek stood on a podium before a cheering crowd, the sun glinting off the medals adorning his dress uniform. The plaza stretched out before him, a sea of humanity come to celebrate their heroes. But even as he waved and smiled for the cameras, his mind was light years away, fixated on the reports trickling in from the Council's border worlds. Trill ships, amassing in numbers unseen since the last great galactic war. Whispers of a new weapon, one that could put the quantum disruptor to shame. As the applause washed over him, Derek felt a heavy weight settle on his shoulders. The Invictus was gone, but the Trill Empire remained, and now they would be coming for blood. He stepped down from the stage, his jaw set with purpose, The Galactic Council might be content to rest on their laurels, but Derek knew better. If humanity was to survive the coming storm, they would need to take matters into their own hands. He thought of his team, of Jax and Riggs and Kara. They had fought and bled and nearly died to stop the Invictus, and now he would ask them to do it all over again, to stand with him against the rising tide of the Trill Empire, no matter the cost. For they were human, and doing the impossible was what humans did best. Derek strode off into the waiting crowd, his mind already racing with plans and preparations. As humanity braced for the coming Trill onslaught, Derek pored over star charts and battle plans late into the night. The soft chime of an incoming message snapped him out of his thoughts. It was from Jax. Derek's brow furrowed as he read the cryptic words. "They did the giant gun thing again, sending coordinates." A chill ran down Derek's spine, realization hitting him like a plasma bolt to the gut. The Trill had built another quantum disruptor, one potentially even more devastating than the monstrosity they'd faced on the Invictus. Derek sprang into action, his fingers flying over the comm panel as he summoned his team. Within minutes, Jax, Riggs, and Kara strode into the briefing room, their faces grim. "What's the situation, boss?" Riggs asked, cracking his knuckles. Derek brought up a holographic display of a remote asteroid field deep in Trill territory. Jax uncovered intel, suggesting the Trill have constructed a new quantum disruptor. "We need to take it out before they can use it against Earth and her allies." Kara leaned forward, studying the map. "Looks like the Trill have a heavily fortified base there. Getting in won't be easy." "Since when do we do easy?" Derek replied with a tight smile. They geared up, loading their ship with every advanced weapon and piece of tech the Galactic Council had provided. As they rocketed through the void towards the coordinates Jax had sent, tension hung heavy in the recycled air. Kara guided their ship through the treacherous asteroid field with deft precision, weaving between the tumbling rocks. As they neared the base, she cut the engines, letting their momentum carry them forward. The ship's advanced stealth systems rendered them all but invisible to the Trill's sensors. They docked at an auxiliary airlock, the magnetic clamps locking on with a muffled clunk. Riggs and Kara peeled off to plant explosive charges at key structural points throughout the base, while Derek and Jax made their way to the chamber housing the quantum disruptor. Trill soldiers swarmed the corridors like angry insects, their plasma rifles spitting deadly fire. Derek and Jax fought their way through, their own weapons barking in response. The air grew thick with the acrid stench of ozone and scorched chitin. At last they reached the central chamber. Derek's heart pounded as the doors hissed open, revealing an empty room. No towering doomsday weapon, no pulsing reactor core, just bare metal walls and a single blinking holographic projector. The projector flared to life, and the sneering visage of Admiral Keed filled the air. "Did you really think it would be that easy, human? The weapon is already on its way to your precious Earth, and this time there will be no stopping it." Derek's blood turned to ice in his veins. They'd been duped, lured away from Earth while the real threat bore down on their homeworld. "Jax, warn Earth's defenses. Kara, Riggs, back to the ship now!" Derek barked into his comm, already sprinting for the airlock. They piled into their vessel, Kara firing up the engines before the hatches had fully sealed. But as they blasted away from the base, a massive Trill fleet shimmered into existence around them, a swarm of angular, chitinous warships bristling with weaponry. Plasma bolts hammered their shields, alarms blaring as the ship bucked and shuddered under the onslaught. Derek gripped the armrests of his chair, his mind racing. They couldn't outfight the Trill fleet, but maybe, just maybe, they could outthink them. "Kara, plot a collision course for the flagship," Derek ordered, his voice steady despite the fear coiling in his gut. Kara glanced back at him, understanding dawning in her eyes. She gave a sharp nod and wrenched the ship into a steep climb, aiming them like a spear at the heart of the Trill formation. As they hurtled towards the looming bulk of the flagship, Derek opened a comm channel to Earth's defense grid. "This is Captain Derek Bennett. A Trill quantum disruptor is en route to Earth. Repeat, a quantum disruptor is incoming. Planetary shields to maximum, all ships to battle stations. May the stars shine on you all. He cut the transmission and braced himself. Kara angled their ship, lining up their trajectory with the flagship's reactor core. Jax and Riggs clasped hands, brothers in arms until the end. The Trill flagship swelled in the view screen, its hull plates rushing up to meet them. Derek closed his eyes, picturing Earth hanging serene and blue against the starry backdrop. They'd bought her a chance. Now, it was up to the brave men and women of Earth's defenses to make that chance count. In a blinding flash, their ship impacted the flagship. For a brief, searing instant, the world was fire and light and shattering metal, then oblivion. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.